Let me introduce a special person to you. Being the director, professor, and controller of examination at Gandhigram Rural Institute, Tamil Nadu, and having completed his PG and PhD from the National Institute of Technology, Trichy, this eminent personality has 31 years of teaching and 35 years of research experience to his credit. With utmost respect and gratitude, let me welcome the person who has blessed me with bundles of love and support, my PG guide, Dr. M.G. Seduraman. It's a matter of extreme pride that Dr. Seduraman had the honor of being included in the list of top 2% of the world scientists compiled by Stanford University Elsevier Research Intelligence and SciTech Strategies. And actually, that is the reason why he is late today. The university had given him a surprise felicitation and he couldn't come out of it. Congratulations, Seduraman sir. As a student of Seduraman sir, it gives me immense pleasure to say that his meticulous effort, constant support, and perpetual guidance has awarded about 20 scholars with PhD. This exceptional personality has been bestowed with the Institutional Social Responsibility Award of Gandhigram Rural Institute by the Honorable Vice President of India. Sir, in spite of your physical absence, I believe that all of us here truly blessed to have you here. On behalf of everyone present here, I welcome you, sir, to this platform. Seduraman, sir, welcome.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Very good afternoon to all of you. I'm indeed very happy and to get invitation from my own student to give a talk on Education 4.0, which is the need of the hour. Hope you are able to hear me.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, fine. Now I go to my PowerPoint. Are you able to see?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are able to see.
Yeah, not me. What is being projected?
Yeah, yes, yes. Your PPT is visible now.
Yeah, Education 4.0, the future of learning in the pandemic world. Okay. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me first apologize to you for coming late to this webinar. As told by Dr. Rani Nair, I had the invitation from the university to attend a felicitation function for being listed in the top 2% of the world scientists. I could not say to my own colleagues, no to my colleagues, so I had to prepone or advance that function and come over here. So I'm extremely sorry for coming a little late to this webinar. Normally I'll be punctual and I expect people also to be little punctual, but unfortunately I myself little came late. So I profusely apologize to all of you. Now let me go to the uh, presentation. Friends, we all know that we desire excellence in higher education. We all know that education is for life, education is through life, and education is throughout life. The grand goals of education, what is the purpose of it, you may ask me? There are twofold, intentions. One is philosophical. See, the goal of education from the philosophical angle is it is a man making exercise, it is a character building exercise, that is learning to be. The other one is practical way of looking at it. It is an economic, job oriented education. Okay, so economic, job oriented education. That is another, purpose of education. Now, what is quality education all about? Now, there is an exponential increase in education institutions, exponential increase in the number of programs offered, exponential increase in the number of teachers and students. But if you look at the kind of access that we have, that is also increased. Equity is ensured to a large extent. Excellence is being ignored. Quality is the casualty here. This is what really is happening. Quality education is to provide all learners with capabilities to become economically productive. We should be able to develop sustainable livelihood. We should be able to contribute for peaceful and democratic society. We should be able to enhance the individual or societal well-being. So these are all the purposes of your quality education. Friends, we know that higher education is all concerned with the production of qualified human resources. To run this country, we need qualified human resources for various jobs, for various sectors, for various, carrying out various activities. We need to offer training for the research career. We'll have to efficiently manage the teaching profession. It is all about matter of extending career opportunities also. Friends, we all know that there are three dimensions of education: teaching, research, and extension. Of course, your placement has become the fourth dimension of education now. Any boy or a girl who is now into the education, higher education institution, now wants to get a high paid salary through the institution. If you say that there is no on campus interview, probably there may not be admission in your college. To that extent, placement is being emphasized upon. In a NIRF ranking and other things also, the universities and colleges are required to give what is the percentage of placement through online and offline modes. What is the net salary? What is the uh, gross salary, etc., median salary, etc. So placement has become very, very essential. Friends, there are, functions of higher education are many. Of course, we have to cater to the to the needs of the skilled manpower needs of the nation. This is one very much required. See, as a nation, we have diverse needs. Of course, the people whom we train should be able to be skilled, and they should really satisfy the needs of the nation. That is one. We have to prepare the students for research and teaching. We have to prepare the students for research and teaching. And we have to provide specialized training courses as per social and economic demands. That is third. We have to cater to the aspects of lifelong learning. We have to cater to the aspects of lifelong learning. We'll have to promote international cooperation through internationalization of research, technology, and networking. So thus, we have multifunctional role for higher education. Friends, there is a COVID challenge. The invisible virus has changed the world upside down. WHO warns that coronavirus may never go away. The kind of threats issued by WHO, you are not able to digest. Every now and then they keep changing their version about corona. Indian government has warned that we may have to live with virus. Of course, they have come out with new vaccines now, which is gaining popularity among the people. People are advocating for new normalcy. We are not able to see anybody walking without a mask in most of the crowded places. Classrooms are not going to be the same. Classroom with a strength of 50 is rare to be seen. With social distancing norm and all that which is emphasized, we may have only small classrooms, at least for the near future. Institutional functioning is going to be different. We were talking about pedagogy. Then people were talking about pedagogy. Now people are worried, talking more about cybergogy with online educational mode. In the beginning, students also were very happy to get a new Android phone through their father and through their parents. Now we don't really know who is logging in for our classes, whether it is the boy or his grandparents. So that is the kind of experience that we are having. We were also thrilled earlier to address through online and all that. Every teacher is tired of online class now. At least if you see the faces of the student, we'll be able to address them effectively. We don't really know whether the student has understood or not. We don't even know whether the student or his grandparents are listening to our lectures. We are not able to write on the board. The whiteboard, which is provided by the online platform, is not really user friendly. Webinars have become web boring nars. There is a total education change which is happening, which is inevitable. Now, in the coming days, how are we going to respond to this kind of challenges? They say that you are not going to stop with pandemic. There is going to be syndemic. If with one coronavirus, if another virus also starts combining with this, the situation is called syndemic situation. And I do not know how we going to respond to this kind of situation. Of course, friends, we all know that the present day students say that if we teach today the way we were taught yesterday, we are not preparing students for today or tomorrow. This is what the saying is. Teachers are expected to be multitasking agents. Overnight, we have switched over to online teaching. Colleges and institutions which have been resisting for the change, when NAC insisting on such kind of change, we used to only tell lies in the SSR. Now it is becoming a reality. Now, if you look at the kind of revolution that has taken place over the years, we had industrial revolution. In 17th or 18th century beginning, if you see, we had industrial revolution 1.0, which was actually mechanization, industrial production based on machines, powered by water and steam. That was actually 1.0. Then we had industry 2.0, electrification slowly started. Then we had industry 3.0, automation using electronics and computers. Then we had globalization 3.5. Then, industry 4.0, digitalization, introduction of connected devices, data analytics, and artificial intelligence technologies to automate process further. Then we have industry 5.0. Now, the fifth industrial revolution is going to be focused on cooperation between man and machine. People are talking about a kind of symphony existing between human beings and cognitive computing. By putting humans back into the industrial production with collaborative robots, workers are going to be upskilled to provide value-added tasks in the production, leading to mass customization and personalization of customers. Please remember one thing: we have faced enough and more challenges in the past. We are ready to face any kind of challenge in the future also. If you look at the kind of changes that have taken place over the years, it is abundant. Now there is an extreme longevity. People do not kick the bucket in 70s. We have, people with 93 plus and all are living a healthy life. By 2025, the number of Americans over 60 is going to be increased by 70%. So extreme longevity is going to be a problem. In another 20 years' time, they say that China and US is going to be filled with only old people. So that is the kind of problem they have. We have a new media ecology, new communication skills or tools have come. Media literacy beyond text has come into existence. The rise of smart machines and systems. So technology can augment and extend our own capabilities. Workplace automation is killing repetitive jobs. Now, for doing repetitive jobs, we don't require human beings any longer. That is the kind of a situation that we have. Superstructured organizations are going to be in place. Social technologies are going to drive new forms of production and value creation. Social tools are going to allow organization to work at extreme scales. There is going to be a computational world. So we are going to have an increase in the sensors, processing, and makes the world a programmable system. Data will give us the ability to see things on a scale that has never been possible. Globally connected world. It is going to be a village. Okay, it's going to be a global village. Diversity and adaptability is at the center of the operation. So the job creation is not going to be anymore a monopoly of Europe or United States of America. Innovation is going to be the need of the hour. Political power is going to swing. So these are the changes that we are going to see in the coming days. These changes are going to occupy the central stage. Probably it will drive us to other extreme. What is taught and what is learned? See, there is a gap. All of us as teachers, we go to the class and start teaching students. Of course, through online classes, there are universities and colleges which are, asking the students to get themselves logged in from 9:30 or 10 o'clock to 4 o'clock. We spend hours before the system in teaching. Are we able to ensure that the students are learning? What is actually taught is equal to what is learnt? Of course, it is not. So there is a kind of hidden curriculum. We are not able to fully transform it, do the transformation. What is taught is not completely what is learnt. There is a gap, a distinct gap. How are you going to fill up that gap? Young people need skills and experience for the jobs of the future. We are not worried, about the kind of the job we had in the past. We had clerical cadre filling up the offices. Now, slowly, they are being replaced by machines. 70% of the young people currently are going to enter the workforce in jobs that will be radically affected by automation. So, repetitive jobs are not going to be done by human beings. It is going to be done only by machines. So, we are going to have a change in the occupations. Entry level roles for the young people are disappearing. Probably will have managers who will do multitasking. We will not have a typist cadre or a stenographer cadre or a kind of people assisting the managerial people. We will have techno managerials people. That is the kind of requirement you will have for the future. Training. 60% of students are being trained in jobs that will be radically changed by automation. Please remember this. Generation yes, Z is what is here now. Earlier we had face-to-face interaction. Ladies and gentlemen, now we have interaction only through virtual mode. We didn't have a control by social media in the years. Now everything is Android age. Without telling your wife you want to sneak into Kerala from Tamil Nadu, your wife comes to know about it. The moment your telephone is engaged, she hears something in Malayalam. Ningal vilikkunna customer, something it says in Malayalam. The man is really caught. So the wife comes to know that the husband has gone from Coimbatore to Palakkad. So that is the kind of jail, electronic jail that we have created through cellular phones. Book reading habit is gone. In our days, we used to have magazines kept below the desk, and we used to read the stories and other things. People do not have patience to read stories and all. Book reading habit is gone. Now it is all videos and WhatsApp and Twitter, such things only. People don't read. The only videos are there. People see. Chalk and talk teaching is slowly getting replaced by differential modes of teaching. There was a fixed career path. Civil engineers used to go only for civil engineering job. Now civil engineers, they go for what? Software jobs. So diverse career pathways are available now. We had earlier limited access to information. Now you have abundant access to information. Now what is the kind of job world that we have? In the past, 20% of the people are only professionals. 30% of the people belong to business and office personnel. 50% of them are laborers. Now, situation is changed. 15% unqualified seasonal worker. 85% of the people are self-educated, hard-working workforce. The need of the hour is we need people with greater competency, high level of competency. This is what actually we need. What is Education 4.0 all about? If you look at Education 1.0, people were believing only in rote memorization. From person to person, from the teacher to the taught, for generations, through rote learning, through memorization, information was passed through mouth. Education 2.0 is invention of printing press and availability of materials. People slowly started making reading materials available with the invention of the printing press. So there were books, there were notes available for students, for teachers and all that. So reading habit slowly started. Education 3.0, knowledge through internet and IT was there. People slowly realized the importance of Google and all that. Mada, Pita, Guru, Devam has become Mada, Pita, Google, Devam. To that extent, Guru is replaced by Google. Now we have Education 4.0, a learner-centric, innovation-oriented ecosystem. That is going to be the future. Are we prepared? Ladies and gentlemen, I do not know whether we all know that we are going to become the knowledge superpower in another 20 years' time. A country of ours has not revised the education policy for the past 35 years. Only now they are making attempt to revise the policy. Only now they are making attempt to revise the policy. And I do not know to what extent they will be successful. Any policy change can be done only with a 100% participation of teachers. Let us be part of the change. We should welcome the change. We should be able to do a kind of revolution in the system. As teachers, we know the kind of anomalies that we face in the classrooms. All that has to be cleared. There is a kind of paradigm shift that is expected through this Education 4.0. Now, what is the kind of shift that we are foreseeing in the coming days? The system is going to be demand-led instead of supply-led education. Depending on the need, we are going to give the manpower. We are going to produce a skilled manpower depending upon the need that we have. It is all competency-based curriculum. It is not just a knowledge-based curriculum. Depending upon the kind of competency that we are going to probably frame the curriculum and administer that curriculum to the boy. Incorporation of disruptive technology and skill sets which may probably be required, that is needed. Incorporation of disruptive technologies. Lifelong learning instead of front-loaded learning is another problem. Lifelong learning instead of front-loaded learning. Modular degree instead of one-shot going. Now there are people, I mean, from Moodle, they may probably read something. From Swayam, they would have got some credits. We are going to have a credit bank system established, and it is all going to be modular degree based, not one shot going. Emphasis is going to be on emotional intelligence. It is not just going to be on IQ alone. The focus is going to be on purposefulness. Focus is going to be on mindfulness. It is going to lead to happiness and well-being. So these are all the things that we have now. What are the eyes of learning in Education 4.0? One is imbibing, internalizing basic concepts. People are going to learn from multiple sources. Please remember one thing, people are going to learn from multiple sources. So teacher is going to be only facilitator for learning. Once upon a time, teacher was looked upon as the fountainhead of knowledge and valor. That situation is slowly going to change. We are going to facilitate the learning process. Iterating is going to be there, practicing fundamental skills rigorously. We are going to make even tests as games, gamification of tests. Interpreting, taking facts from the study, applying them to different situations with adaptive alterations. Then we have to develop interest. We have to develop enough and more curiosity among the students about a subject so as to delve deep and create further body of knowledge. Innovating. We have to make them think differently. We have to make them come up with original concepts and build innovative ideas, products, and services. These are the various eyes of learning in education. Imbibing, iterating, interpreting, interest, innovating. Are we checking all this? We don't really checking whether learning has taken place or not in a student. We merely deliver lectures. We merely deliver lectures. Majority of your question papers, how do they look like? They ask, write short notes on. They say what. So every other question starts only with what. If there are 10 questions, at least 8 questions focus only on what? This, which means you are concentrating or checking only rote memorization. We are not checking on cognitive skills at all. The K1, K2, K3, K4 advocated by revised Bloom's taxonomy, we never bother at all. That should never be happening. We should have a change taking place. Students should be able to apply their knowledge. They should be able to examine. They should be able to analyze. They should be able to synthesize. All that should be there. Is all need of the hour. The earlier we had in the 19th century, a kind of agricultural economy was there. Slowly we were moving into the industrialist economy. Now we are heading towards a knowledge economy. We are going to head towards innovation triggered economy. The innovation triggered, innovation based society of the future. So this is the kind of future that we are going to have. Please remember one thing. It is going to be a kind of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity in the future. So to understand complexity and address the issues related to complexity, we need to have multiple key decision factors. Now there is a volatility is also there. The rate of change is going to determine. We should be really able to address this kind of situation. There is a lack of clarity also. Ambiguity is there. Uncertainty, unclear about the present situation is there. So how much do we know about this kind of situation? Now, the kind of skills that we need are not really understood properly. You see, for the sake of NAAC, we have introduced soft skills as one of the subjects in many of the colleges and universities. We are not very serious about the kind of skills the students require. We fail to teach them coping skills. In 2015, people thought that 10 aspects which are to be concentrated are complex problem solving, coordinating with others, people management, critical thinking, negotiation, quality control, service orientation, judgment and decision making, active listening, and creativity. That was actually the order in which people thought we should be able to impart coping skills. Now the thing is slowly changing. We need emotional intelligence. We need cognitive flexibility. The kind of order also has slowly changed. We need to have negotiation skills, which was really, emphasized upon earlier. Now that is only in the 9th position. Look at the kind of change in priorities that we have now. The skills of tomorrow is going to be new media literacy. There is going to be virtual collaboration, a design mindset, ability to represent, develop tasks and work processes for desired outcomes. It is all going to be transdisciplinary. Cognitive load management. Okay, the ability to discriminate and filter information for importance. Okay, cognitive load management, social intelligence, novel adaptive thinking. See, these are the skills which are needed. Only some of them are listed. Okay, of course. If you look at the 10 key skills, these are the 10 key skills which we require. Does our subject or curriculum address these 10 things? If you are able to correlate your discipline to the kind of skills that we need for surviving in this world presently, are we satisfied? How many of your subjects would give up or equip the students with the ability to solve the problems, complex problems? How will it actually enhance critical thinking in children? So this kind of question, it is difficult to answer. So we have identified the 10 key skills. To see that these 10 key skills are there in children, what do we do? That is what is really needed. What are the characteristics of education 4.0? See, please remember one thing. Children are not anymore interested in coming to the college. Many universities like Shastra University has already started online degree programs. Ladies and gentlemen, anytime, anywhere, learning is going to take place. Between an Android phone and a teacher, if you ask a student whom do you prefer, your student may probably prefer an Android phone to a teacher. Please remember that. Anytime, anywhere, learning. That is one. Second, student customized learning. It is all going to be cafeteria system. We cannot say that for mathematics, you need to have physics as ancillary, statistics as ancillary or minor subjects. That's all gone. For mathematics, he may prefer even music. He may prefer dance. He may prefer electronics as subjects. So it is going to be his choice for learning. It is all student centric. They decide what they want. We are not here to thrust upon them what really they want. It is all going to be project-based learning, experiential learning through internship, mentorship, and projects. We need to have exposure to interpretational data. Everything has to be application oriented. Assessment of students also has to be differential. Through only examination mode, we cannot really have assessment. When the whole world is able to move to the next semester, Indian institutions were struggling. You know why? We have one size fit all type of examination. Whether it is a 2 credit paper or a 4 credit paper, we have 3 hour examination. We have 5 units for a syllabus. We have very rigid system. As a result of which, many universities have not gone for differential assessment of students at all. As a result of which, we are not able to answer to the needs of the students. Students' role in curricular design is not very much emphasized in our country. Many of our board of studies do not have any representatives from the students. We say that we are having the we say that we are having the I mean we say that we are having students in our IQAC and all that. What is the kind of emphasis that we are giving to their ideas? What is that we are doing to incorporate their suggestions in our curriculum? Their role is only a kind of ornamental role. Just for the sake of NAC, we have a few representatives from students. Truly speaking, we are not able to incorporate. Many times, they are also not able to what? I mean, contribute also. The role of the teachers are only facilitators' role. What is the action plan that we need? We have to focus on 4C. One is we have to focus on communication. We have to focus on collaboration. We have to make critical thinking happening. We should have emphasis on creativity. So your syllabus or curriculum should have these 4 components: communication, collaboration, critical thinking, creativity. Programming and ICT should be made a compulsory course. Whatever be the actually program that we have, okay, ICT based courses should be there. Industry oriented curriculum should be there. Presently, we have one representative from industry. Mostly, he will be our own students. What does he say? He does not contribute. He remains as a passive observer. In many of the autonomous colleges where I go, or many of the universities where I go as a board of studies member, I see only this happening. Industry people, even if they say something, we are not able to implement because we have our own limitations. Your choice-based credit system, which we say that we have in our universities and colleges, where is the choice for the students? Where is the choice for teachers? It is only CBCS, chaos-based confusion system that we have. We don't really have the choice for the students. This is what really happens. So all dimensions of education are oriented towards Industry 4.0. Now, how are we going to address this? These are the action plan. Now, what are the strategies? One is we have to encourage play-based learning. Please remember, ladies and gentlemen, giving a syllabus and then having a ancient way of delivering lectures, they're all going to be outmoded way of learning. We are going to have activity-based learning. We have to have project-based learning. We have to have this kind of play-based learning happening in the classes. Break down the learning into smaller and coordinated pieces. It has to be task-oriented. We'll have to create a safe environment for learning. This is very much needed now in the pandemic situation. We'll have to develop a growth mindset for the students. A 10th standard boy is able to have case studies in other countries. Even an MBA student is not able to have a case studies done in our institutions. We have to foster nurturing relationships. We have to allow time to focus. Foster reflective reasoning and analysis. Are we doing that? In many of the countries, if a boy is not able to complete the 3-year program in 3 years, he takes his own time. He probably takes 5 years. We have N+2 number of years, a rigid system in place. We need to change all that. It has to be growth oriented. It has to be actually student centric. It has to be learner centric. It has to be focused on development. It has to be need based industry. There are certain, how often do we change our syllabus? I do not know who has told that we should change syllabus only once in 3 years. Many institutions are changing the syllabus only once in 3 years. And of course, there are institutions like VIT, Vellore Institute of Technology, which have introduced flexi credit system. A teacher can introduce up to the extent of 10 to 15% any component in the syllabus. At least in the elective courses, he or she can introduce a kind of flexibility. So this is the kind of option that you are giving. It is all going to be what? I mean, learner centric. Depending upon the type of students you are getting, depending upon the kind of interest the student has, the kind of requirement they have, you have to probably tailor this one. You have to prepare a cocktail accordingly and serve them. This is the kind of strategy that we are going to adopt for the future. Please remember one thing: the traditional way of lecturing is not going to really be appreciated at all. We should offer appropriate price on the students. It is all inquiry based learning. We should be able to help students take advantage of their personality and stress. See, not only the students are stressed, even the teachers are stressed. With NAC becoming a necessary evil, every other teacher is toiling to have so many records created. People do not have the records, they create records. They don't break records, they create records for the sake of what? Managing the show like NIRF or NAC. This is the kind of weakness that we have. We'll have to provide appropriate challenges. I went to one of the colleges in Hyderabad for a NAC related work. A boy was telling me, see, after when I met the group of students, after the meeting, the two boys, they stayed back. They said they wanted a meeting separately with me. They agreed. I said, what do you want to ask? I said, the boy said, two things I want to say. One is uninspiring teacher. The other one is unchallenging question paper. Look at the way. See, all these years as teachers, we concentrate only on weak students. We are not bothered about the clever ones. We are not worried about the advanced learners. We don't have any care for the clever program at all. We don't have any care for the clever program at all. So the kind of situation that we have, we produce only Xerox machines. We are not providing appropriate challenges. Even in such subjects like accountancy, there are question papers which do not have any problems. There are many physics question papers which do not have even a single numerical problem. We are not really providing appropriate challenges. We have university toppers, but unfortunately, these toppers are not able to clear the NET SLET examinations. What does it mean? Is it not a shame that our university toppers are not able to clear national level examinations? We have to offer engaged caregiving. We should be able to provide clear learning objectives, targeting explicit skills. UGC has said 2 years back about the introduction of learning outcome framework, LOCF, outcome-based education. How many of our colleges and universities have adopted outcome-based education? Have we designed PEO, PO, PSO, CEO for various courses and programs? Use hands-on approach. Do we have hands-on approach? Many places practicals are conducted theoretically. Practical classes are conducted theoretically. We do not have infrastructure facilities at all. Many of the private universities have state-of-art facilities, but for using the facilities, they charge the students and the faculty members. That is a kind of situation that we have, which means infrastructure requirement is far from desired. Okay, we are not able to have enough and more facilities for our students. With the kind of facilities that we have in our institutions, can we produce quality students? Should we not have quality facilities to have quality students? That is the kind of requirement that is the kind of question people are asking. We need to have quality teachers. We need to have quality students. We should have quality infrastructure. We should have quality curriculum in place. Only then things will move on. Please remember, our curriculum is not really updated to the extent it should have been. Your plus 2 syllabus is updated very often, but our degree and PG programs are not really updated. Even if you update, we do only cosmetic changes. We are not able to make changes which are really far-fetching in nature. Please remember one thing, ladies and gentlemen, we need to have basic competency skills. Fundamental knowledge they should have. For BSc mathematics, some basic mathematics is required. If it is not there, at least through bridge course, we should be able to offer them the kind of knowledge. So basic competency should be there. Then we should be able to inculcate what is known as domain specific competency in the subject, in the design aspect, in the business aspect. So we need to develop in them the domain specific competency. We need to make them possess transferable skills. Like, for example, problem solving skills they must have. They must have soft skills. They should be able to think and act. A kind of business orientation should be there. Techno literacy is needed. So all these are needed. Are we prepared for that kind of curriculum? Do our curriculum. See how, so I asked recently, I was in an academic audit for one of the universities. I asked, what is the percentage of theory and laboratory courses that you have? The teachers were not able to say effectively at all. Teachers were not able to say effectively at all because it was less than 22%. I was asking, is this a science course? Should you not at least have 35 to 40% laboratory courses? They are not able to give. Your curriculum framework just should not have theoretical aspects. You must have domain knowledge. You should have practical knowledge, at least to the extent of 35 to 40%. Then you should be able to extend beyond. Such agencies like NBA is asking for curriculum beyond, content beyond the curriculum. Content beyond the curriculum they are asking. We need to have field exposure. Internship should be there. In-plant training should be there. On-job training should be there. So curricular framework should have all these aspects. Now, what are the points to be kept in curricular framework? One is basic knowledge requirement. See, if there are bridge courses, if they are not there, you must have the bridge course. Core courses should be there. Elective courses should be there. You must have supportive courses. You must have supportive courses. You must have computational courses. You must have practical courses. There should be internship. There should be placement, field placement. We should have OJT, on-job training. All these should be there. But unfortunately, students do not have enough and more avenues for real life learning. If they have to see, there is no exposure to the industry at all. Leave alone the students, even the staff do not, the faculty do not have the exposure. We say that we have job ready graduates, we produce job ready graduates. We are not able to produce a job ready graduate at all. This is the thing which is really happening. So what is the focus? We should have focus on such things. Artificial intelligence. Ladies and gentlemen, you know about Annamalai University in Tamil Nadu. Even for the social science courses, they have an elective course on artificial intelligence. Future is going to be on such domains only. Even if he is a non-science student, let him have at least some preliminary idea about artificial intelligence, AI. Robotics is going to rule. Internet of other things, IoT is there. Big data analytics has come. Now many colleges are getting caught because they give different data to different agencies. For ASHA, All India Survey of Higher Education, they give one data. For UGC, they give another data. For NAC, they give another data. For NIRF, they give another data. Now your data analytics, you are able to pool this the different data given for the same item. So they are able to find out the discrepancy in the data. All that is possible now. So big data analytics is one. Autonomous vehicles, bionanotechnology, 3D printing, material science, quantum computing, energy saving. Now, people do not talk about MBA. They say it is decision science. People are not just having commerce. They say business analytics, commerce with computers. People need to understand forecasting. People are emphasizing on interdisciplinary knowledge. So this is the kind of knowledge that we are going to have in the coming years. Please, ladies and gentlemen, we need to have out of box thinking. Outdated subjects are to be slowly thrown out of our curricular framework. We have to make an in-depth assessment of what is the need of the hour, what is the need of the nation, what is the need of the state, what is the need of the region. Accordingly, we have to start planning our activities. Unfortunately, we have one size fit all. Most of the board of studies meetings start by 11 o'clock and end up by 1 o'clock. In 2 hours' time, are we going to what? Fix the destiny of the tomorrow's need? I don't know. Let us all be pragmatic. It has to be a continuous one. As a teacher, we know, we are aware of the kind of challenges that we have. We are aware of the changes that we have to make. We are aware of the needs of the nation of tomorrow. We have to respond effectively. Sometimes it may require some different mode of thinking. Probably you may have to undergo a course and all that. Slowly, teachers are coming to terms. Instead of attending a refresher course, people are now going in for Swayam Prabha courses and all that. I went to a recently a college. The college was showing me that 12 of their teachers have got gold medal in Swayam course, in NPTEL course and all that. I was so happy. Out of 25 teachers who have written, 12 of them have got. That has motivated another 25 to join for the next. So please remember, ladies and gentlemen, the present day students, they want only learning professors and not the learned ones. So we need to update ourselves. There are three mandates of higher education, ladies and gentlemen. One is dissemination of knowledge. That is what we do. When you go to a class, we disseminate knowledge. We should not stop with that alone. We should go for updating knowledge. Knowledge updation is the one which we need. So we have to update constantly whatever we have learned. That is where your refresher course and orientation programs help. Then we have what is known as third aspect, generation of new knowledge. Unfortunately, many of the colleges are concentrating only on teaching, not on research. Higher education is all about generating new knowledge also. Okay, theory of relativity, they say, came at the time when the whole world was suffering with Spanish flu. Who knows? In this pandemic situation, there may be new concepts and new innovations that may probably rule the science of tomorrow or engineering science or medical science of tomorrow. So we have to make way for such kind of innovations in our curriculum also. Let us be open to the changes. Let us welcome the changes. Let us really be prepared for the kind of changes that are becoming slowly inevitable. Let us accept the changes and march ahead. Please remember one thing, even in the assessment practices, we need to have changes. The conventional method of assessment by a test and examination, all that should go. Probably it will be going. We'll have to have an individualistic way of assessment, for which we need smaller classrooms. Under the new education policy, it is envisaged that we may have the degree awarding status for colleges. If colleges are going to be degree awarding in nature, they have to be more responsible. It is not like collecting the fees and giving the degree. We have to really, the degree which we give or which we award to the students has to be respected. There should be credibility. So you'll have to tighten up your examination procedures. You'll have to make it more credible. For that, your assessment system has to be more practical. We'll have to have game-based assessment. We have to have task-based assessment. We have to have project-based assessment. We have to give individual projects or group projects and all that, make them do the projects. In ancient days, in our own country, we had only task-based assessment. Only now this examination system has come. Teacher was everything in those days, and teacher was giving varied task, and assessment of the teachers was actually based on the kind of task undertaken by the students. It is all individual based. Evaluation should stay on. So multiple assessment tools are to be really imbibed by us. We need to have diverse strategies, varied systems of assessments. I wish and pray that we have varied systems of assessments in our colleges and universities too. And this kind of subjective methodologies that we have now should be shown exit, and we should have objective methods of assessment in place. We have more challenges in the coming years, coming days. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, we are not preparing our graduates for Hubli. We are preparing the graduates for Houston. We are not preparing the graduates for Khartoum. We are preparing the graduates for Canberra. Our students are going to be the world leaders tomorrow. They are going to be the skilled superpower for tomorrow's world. Is it not our duty to equip them in the best possible way? Is it not our duty to make this nation really a mighty one? Should we not make it a knowledge superpower? All these are required. As teachers, I wish that it has. 1 minute. Hello. சொல்லுங்க. அப்படியே பின்னாடி வழியா வாங்க. Okay. Sherry. Okay. So this is what, sorry. So the best way to predict the future is to create it. I'm sure that as teachers, we will be able to predict the future and we will be able to create a future. I'm sure that teachers will respond to all kinds of challenges. I'm sure that we will be able to face challenges effectively in the coming years and coming days. So I'll be too happy to see this kind of change happening in every institution. So with prayerful wishes, let me thank the organizers for giving me an opportunity to share my thoughts on the future of education in this country. So let me once again, thank all of you for your presence and patience. So thank you all. Thank you for your, listening. So thank you very much. So with these, I again request the organizers to pose questions if there are any. I'm not able to see the chat box or anything, but in case if you have any questions, I'll be too happy to answer. And let's see.
Thank you, Sedaraman sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is my contact number.
Class. And we are so happy to have you and sitting in the class of Dr. M.G. Sedaraman after a long gap of 16 years.
Yeah. I'm also fortunate to have students like you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Any questions? Okay. Friends, any questions?
If there are any questions.
Yes. Dr. Roby has raised his hand.
Yeah.
Please unmute yourself and
ask question.
Okay. Am I audible, sir?
Yes.
Yeah, very much, sir.
Okay, I am Dr. Roby from BM Golathirthikat.
Yeah,
my question is that in our semester system, how can produce the challenging students in a current scenario?
How can
produce challenging students in a current scenario?
You can, sir. Yeah. Semester. See, I'll tell you, this is semester system is like Bajaj advertisement. Fill it, shut it, forget it.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like if you ask the spectroscopy, you will have 2 units. One unit will be in the first semester, second unit will be in the second semester. If you ask basics of spectroscopy in the second semester, both the teacher and the student says it is out of syllabus. That is the kind of system that we have. Please remember one thing. These are all, see, we have to overcome all these burdens, barriers, and all that. Please remember one thing, the kind of motivation which you give as a teacher will be remembered long. Okay. See, just we are not preparing them for examinations. We are not preparing for their course alone. We are preparing them for life. Have that mission. See, I do not know how many of you have read Abdul Kalam's words. See, Abdul Kalam, when he was in 6th standard, that Sivasubramania Iyer, who was his teacher, you know what did he do? He did not see. He was teaching the birds flying. He did not demonstrate the flying in the classroom. He took them all to Rameswaram beach and he showed them how the birds fly. That is the kind of exposure we need to give to the students. Okay. So as teachers, you and me can definitely do that, sir. These are all small things. Semester, 15 weeks of class, 4 credit course, 3 credit course. All that are small things. Raise beyond all this. Okay. Evolve as a big a teacher. Definitely you will do. I'm sure. Okay. Anything?
Okay, thank you, sir.
Anything? Any else? Any other question? Rani, you asked them not to ask any questions, huh?
No, sir. No, no.
Yeah.
Hello, sir. I have a
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
I'm Sam Joseph from CMS College.
Ah.
So the question is, sir, you talked that in our system, though we are telling that it's choice-based system, we are not offering the students the choices. But the thing is that, sir, in a college like ours, if you offer the more choices, who will take? Because we have a limited number of staffs. So in such systems, so this is the constraint. But I am not telling. So my question is that how will we manage such if we give more choices to the students? That's one of my questions.
Sir, that is why UGC has said that you go for e-courses. Swayam is there, Swayam Prabha is there, NPTL is there, NMICT is there. So many other courses are there. It is not just teacher-centric course. Okay. Students should be able to learn. So wide variety of courses, 1,288 courses are there. Okay. So students should be able to offer one of the 1,288 courses. So don't confine them to the classrooms alone. Anytime, anywhere learning. Okay, that has to happen. Don't worry. Okay. Anybody else? So thank you, Rani.
I hope questions are over.
Yeah.
Thank you, Seduraman sir. Thank you so much. Let me invite Dr. Thompson K. Alex, another student from Gandhigram.
Oh.
For vote of thanks.
Who is that? Let me see.
Good evening.
Thompson, sir.
Good evening, everyone. Dear friends, we got a wonderful and informative session on Education 4.0, the future of learning in the pandemic world.
Okay.
As we know, everything in the scenario of education is transforming now. Dr. Seduraman sir recall our attention to various topics like quality education, concept of higher education, and functions of higher education, etc. And he pointed out that now we are in the arena of COVID challenge. Everything is changing now, from pedagogy to cybergogy. Yes, now teachers are multitasking agents. Through his talk, Seduraman sir guided us to the need of the hour, that is high level of competency. Now it is a learner-centric, innovation-oriented ecosystem, and we are heading to innovation-triggered society. He gave a systematic narration to how to plan or cope with this digitalized scenario. As a guru, Seduraman sir, he imbibed us. He interacted with his voice, slides, and genuine thoughts. He interpreted the Education 4.0 world and created interest among us to face the changing world and innovated us and equipped us for the new education scenario waiting for us. So let us welcome the challenges and changes now. Sir, on behalf of BAM College IPAC and the participant present here, I extend our sincere thanks to you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Once
Thank you.
again, I extend our sincere gratitude to those who participated in this FDP and those who worked behind the digitalized platform. Thank you all.
Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Rani Nair. Thank you.